morning everyone, and welcome to the slightly delayed sunrise safari. As you can see, it is a grey and gloomy day here in the Sabi Sands. It is 16 degrees centigrade, which is 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So although it doesn't feel that chilly, there's definitely a wind and a dampness in the air that's bringing that temperature down. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie, and I have Andrew on camera with me this morning. And driving around on the other vehicle, Wendy, is Scott, along with VM on camera. We also have Nikki and Jess in FC. Now, speaking of Nikki and Jess, and of course Eugene on the technical side of things, we had a little bit of a problem with black screens this morning, and we only have signal on one of the repeaters. So that does mean that unfortunately, as a tool of communication, we are currently using the mobile phone. We are back to that point once again. However, we have some exciting news. There is something cracking and tearing and breaking trees off in the distance to my right. Now, I would be cheating if I said I'm not sure what it is, because I did see them just a little bit earlier. There's a herd of elephants just in there, and we're going to go and find them. And bear with me if I keep looking at my phone. I promise you I'm not on any of the social media sites. I'm just communicating with our directors. Luckily, I'm not in their position because I am the world's slowest typer on the mobile phone. Somehow I haven't managed to get that coordination going. My replies tend to be sort of monosyllables. Now, let's see if we can find these elephants. Tucked away somewhere, hiding from the cold weather in the drainage line. If you are just joining us for the first time, this is a live safari. So everything you are seeing on your screen is happening right here on Djuma and Arathusa game reserves, quite possibly in the rain, although we're keeping our fingers crossed, obviously, that it isn't. And that means you never know what's going to be around the next corner. Hopefully elephants in this case. And we're also interactive, so if you do want to ask any questions or make any comments, you can do that on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@WildEarthTV, and then they will be texted through to me on the mobile networks. You'll have to try and avoid driving into the drainage line where there's no phone signal. Highly entertaining way to start out the morning. Elephants, where are you hiding? I only saw 2 adults from the opposite side of this drainage line. You wouldn't think it would be hard to find a 4-ton or 5-ton animal out in the bush. Elephants can be... Oh, that's apparently not that hard. Never mind. Andrew's got it. Oh, hello, Mummy. Let's make our slow and gentle approach. Now, when we first drove into the sighting a little bit earlier, Andrew says to me, you can smell the fresh dirt where they've been digging, and that's absolutely right, you can. They're pushing in to get roots and forbs and bulbs that are under the ground that carry just that little extra bit of nutrition. And it's always fun to watch the babies do. And the wonderful news is, this is the herd from yesterday. So if you were watching the sunset safari, Andrew and I were with this breeding herd, just maybe a kilometre to the west of my position now, and we spotted a tiny weeny little baby. And I'm relatively certain, getting right down so he can, just doesn't quite have the same trunk coordination that Mom has. So sometimes it's necessary to headbutt the sand and get your mouth right down to where you're trying to get a bite to eat. Look at the way she's using her heel to dig. It's really quite phenomenal to watch. And as the wind is blowing, I keep getting that fresh combination of scents. It's the grassy smell of elephant dung and then the smell of fresh damp dirt. It really is the perfect way to start the morning. Andrew, I'm sorry to interrupt you with that beautiful shot, but let's just have a look at what that little baby's doing if we can. I will try and get us a little bit closer in a moment, but it's playing with a log, I think. Trying to figure out how that all works. Oh, and it's a little boy. Very, very cute. And baby elephants really are the most precious little things. Oh, Mom's getting right down. Direct bite, there we go. And what a wonderful way to start the morning. To sit with these precious ellies. They are, luckily, all sort of slowly moving in our direction. Mom here is back to digging. She pushed the knobthorn out of the way, which you might have heard that big cracking sound. She's just shifted it out of the way. Can you hear the sound of her scraping on the soil? That is so cool to see. Getting right into those roots that are underground. Obviously they're still carrying the highest level of nutrients. Oh, she's definitely found a root there. I heard a cracking sound. Oh, and she's broken it. Let's see if she can get it up now with her trunk. There we go. Big thick piece of root. Trying to beat the sand off it, but baby's trying to get in there as well, trying to snack on whatever Mom has sent through. While we're watching these wonderful elephants, we have a question from Sharon in Pittsburgh, who wanted to know that besides the ears, what are the major differences between African and Asian elephants? Are the trunks different too? And they are different. In fact, that's one of the most crucial points. So for those of you who aren't too sure and aren't familiar with the Asian or the African elephant differences, In the case of the Asian elephants, their ears are much, much, much smaller, and their trunks, now in African elephants they've got the 2 lips. In Asian elephants they've only got 1 lip at the top that they use to fold over. The coordination is almost exactly the same. Hello, baby. Popping out to say hello from next to mom. It might even be... coordination still not entirely there. Trying to guess how old this little fuzzball is. Still covered in hair. I'd say probably in the region of maybe 7 to 8 months. And the reason I'm going that high, although it is very tiny, is because little baby elephants only really start to supplement their diet of milk with solid food at about 6 months. And I have seen this little baby putting grass and food in her mouth, but that's also imitation of the adult. She's got to learn what mommy eats and then copy her. And I've seen a similar thing with baby rhino when they're learning what to eat, and they watch what mom eats and then they take a mouthful of grass and they kind of chomp on it for a while, but you can see they're not really enjoying it, would far rather have a drink of milk. Oh. Just nudge baby out of the way. And apparently breakfast for this breeding herd consists of roots and bulbs. Oh, so cute. In this particular instance, I'm going to wait and let this mom come to us when she's ready. This little youngster is so young that it hasn't even quite reached the playful stage yet. Still, oh, just sleepy. Oh, I was just about to say that baby elephants of that age need a lot of rest, and there you go. Quick nap time. And since they are settled there, I'm going to shift forward ever so slightly. I want to disturb baby's rest, but just before I do, I just want to have a look one more time at this female off to our left and her rather distinctive tail. This is something that Andrew first noticed a little bit earlier. She's got a very, very kinky tail. It could be that that was broken at some point in the past and has just healed skew. But there you go. Perfect identifying feature. That will never straighten out. It will be like that for the rest of her life. Perfect way to ID an elephant. There you go. Just a little zigzag in her tail. So we've already got a couple of individuals in this herd that we can now quite easily identify. So keep your eyes peeled when we do see elephant herds in the future, and see if you can spot these special individuals that we've spent in the last 2 days a fair amount of hours with. The nice thing about this particular breeding herd is that they are perfectly relaxed. I'm going to try and shuffle forward so we can see the baby asleep, but if I do see any sign of them being aware of our coming up, I will stop immediately. Don't want to disturb the little baby. Let's shift forward a little bit and see. So let's see how they respond to the engine. It's always a good idea in sightings like this, if you're really working on not disturbing the animal, once you do turn on, just to let the engine run for a moment rather than immediately pulling off, so that you can gauge reactions. Okay, let's creep forward. It's actually as close as I'm comfortable getting. Let's just see if Andrew can get a bit of a shot there. It's not the clearest view, but I don't want to disturb them in any way. As Mommy is ripping up the entire root system of a plant there. She's completely dug it out. There, just behind Mommy, completely flat, is her baby, fast asleep, with just little ear twitches. Just having a nap. And this is that same little baby, if you were watching the sunset safari, that all of us fell in love with yesterday afternoon. I don't think there are very many baby animals that are cuter than a baby elephant, in my opinion. There's something so special about them. Now this is, I know from yesterday, this is a very big herd, but I'm not sure where the rest of them are. There you go, big female coming in. She's coming in to see if she can join in on the root system. She's much, much bigger than that other mother. You can see the difference in their height. She's much older. She's probably much higher up in the hierarchy of the herd. There's little Baba, not too disturbed by the comings and goings of aunties and Mom's come and usurped her mother's position, or his mother's position. Sorry, it is a little boy. Now we've got that very cute, tiny little baby. And Deb from Florida, do elephants' moms separate from their group before they give birth? So do they go off and have their babies somewhere separately? And how do they reinforce their bonds with their babies? And will elephants ever suckle one another's babies? Now, I mentioned yesterday that little babies like this one are such a crucial part of the herd structure, and all of the younger females will practice their mothering skills on it. They'll help to look after it. And although it's not uncommon for females to move off slightly, I've actually been present not at an elephant birth but straight afterwards, and we were out on a walk and we heard lots of elephant sounds, and we crept slowly up the road and we got to this incredible, I can't describe it, there was just something about the feel of the place. It was completely flattened and open. You could see where the females in their tracks had made a ring around this female who'd given birth, and then there was a warm placenta still sitting on the ground. So the afterbirth, and the rest of the elephants had then moved the calf off. They help it stand up, they help, especially for new mothers, they help her look after it and move it to safety. So she doesn't necessarily leave the herd to give birth, she remains within the protection, because as you can imagine, one elephant on her own giving birth to a small baby is very, very vulnerable to predators. Now that being said, they do not allosuckle, so only the mother will have that tight bond with her infant. She will be the one to suckle it, and that's how she forms her bond. And the bond with the rest of the herd is formed by them helping to look after that little baby. That drongo is loving life. And look at this big female. And she will be one of the females who taught the younger female, the mother of the smallest calf, how to be a mother. It really is quite incredible. And the older calf has joined in, getting into the roots. Sometimes it helps to have a mom who's a little bit bigger than the others, so that you can enjoy the fruits of another's labor, so to speak. And just in terms of size, that little baby that we're looking at now, she's probably somewhere in the region of 2 years old, 1.5 years to 2. Very, very sweet. Now I must say I'm starting to have a very soft spot for this breeding herd. They are so nice and relaxed in our presence. Relaxed enough that that baby feels completely comfortable at just going to sleep. And how amazing is it, just looking at the position of that calf now. Just think about the size of these animals. They don't exactly have side mirrors or rear view mirrors to guide them where they go, but they have the most tremendous sense of proprioception and spatial awareness. And scientists have actually studied their brains. So although she's very, very close to stepping on that little baby boy, she never would. It would never happen. They are so gentle and so aware of themselves. That's why he feels so comfortable at just completely going to sleep. Fast asleep. He looks so peaceful, so cute. And they are just like human babies. They're doing a lot of growing and a lot of learning in a very short space of time. Need plenty of sleep. And until that calf wakes up, she's not going to go and wake that calf up. Until it wakes up, they will stand here, stand over it, and feed in this area. They're quite content to let their babies do their thing. This little one has acquired the root system that was originally dug out by the younger mother, but can't quite work out how to make its way around it. Trying to figure out a way of using his trunk to break off the branches. Oh, I'm gonna try just using mouth completely. Take a bite. Oh. Give it a bit of a shake, maybe that will work. No, too much effort breaking off that root. Oh, I'm going to try again. Got one. I'm sure many of you can hear the birds. The drongos are the loudest and the closest to us, and that's just because they are fluttering about catching the insects. But I've just heard a crested francolin, and Anna Maurice, you picked up on the Cape turtle dove that was calling earlier. It's actually, the birds have only just sort of woken up now. They had a bit of a lie-in on this chilly morning. Yesterday this herd was somewhere in the region of 18 to 20 individuals. Didn't get a complete count. And where the rest of them are, I'm not too sure. They might have moved off slightly. And that these two have just remained behind so that baby can have a rest. This beautiful old girl that we're looking at now with her slightly kinked tail, she could be somewhere in the region of 30 years old, maybe even older, and it's her experience that's going to teach the younger mother how to raise her baby. Elephants really are the most magical creatures. at her digging away there. Oh, kicking away to get those roots loose. And then those amazing crunching noises as her teeth get to work. He looks like he's about to put his entire head in that hole to try and get at the roots. Amazing how tolerant Mommy is being of that intrusion. And we've actually got such a cool opportunity here while we're watching the mother and the calf together feeding on the same plant matter to compare the level of coordination that they each have with their trunks. That baby, although around 2 years old, still not the world's most coordinated trunk motions. Has to keep curling and recurling its trunk around that little piece of root. I'm not even sure at this point what that plant used to be. But then look at the way Mom's trunk is so coordinated as it wraps around that root. Getting to exactly the parts that she wants. It's amazing to think that this kind of... Look how carefully Mom backed towards her calf. Just checking up, making sure everything's okay. Oh. 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 No, Mom, I'm sleeping. That is too precious. Just checking that baby's okay, having a sniff, having just a gentle touch between Mom and baby to reaffirm that bond between them. You absolutely cannot help but feel such warmth and affection for a group of elephants like this, when the love between them and the bonds between them are so clear. Now we have a question. We've been talking about the protective way that these females will stay around the calf and look after it. And Maggie on Twitter was wondering if they would ever save it, or how they would save it from a lion if there was a lion around, or if even the lion would go for that baby. Now Maggie, elephants are incredibly protective over their babies. The whole herd, not just the mother, but the whole herd would be there to defend and chase that lion off. And it's very, very unusual. I know that there are lion prides who do specialize in killing elephants, but it is unusual, and it is in times of desperation, because the whole herd will mount such a defense. And even if there was a lion lying over there somewhere, just in the distance, just watching them, I have seen elephants run towards them and chase them away. And what they'll do is they'll herd the babies into the middle of the herd and form a protective ring with all of them. The mother will stay close to her baby, and the rest of the big females will form a nice big ring around them. Now for viewers like Maggie and any new viewers that we do have, let us know where you're from, because that's one of the most amazing things about these live safaris, is that we get to know people from all across the globe, and it's just so special to be able to know who it is that we're reaching and where you're from. It's one of my favorite parts of these live safaris. There's a sort of gentle drizzle touching my face. Come on, Rain, you can't come now. Gotta hold off. We've got special Ellies here. Baby is still out for the count. As you can see how the wind is blowing. The sky is very, very grey. And if you are a new viewer and you do have any questions or comments that you'd like to make, please send them through and please let us know if you are watching for the first time. It's one of my favorite things is to get to know the viewers that are watching these live safaris and to be able to interact on an individual basis. Now this larger calf, that's sort of 2 years old with Big Mommy, is much more energetic than the little baby that's off to the right. And Lynn, you've picked up, or you've said that this is the longest that you've ever seen a baby elephant sleep for. And it could be because it's one of the youngest you've ever seen, and we do have this wonderful opportunity. This is a special moment to have elephants so relaxed that this elephant baby feels comfortable enough to sleep. It's not uncommon at all. They can spend up to an hour asleep like this, although that would be a fairly unusual situation. There you go. The older calf has come to investigate around it. No, I think just feeding on the other side. I thought maybe it was going to go up and have a sniff. Not it, sorry, she. The older calf is a she. Look how fast asleep. So Lynn, this is a very special moment. And it could be just because they do feel so comfortable with us. And so far, there's been very little movement. You don't need to worry though. It's just got so much growing and so much happening in its life that just like human babies, it needs to sleep. I've seen it also with rhino calves. They get up and they play and run around like maniacs for 5 minutes, and then they pass out for about 15. So the little babies, especially of these large animals that have got so much growing to do, they do need a little bit of a rest every now and again. Look at it all tucked up against the cold, and Rena has pointed out that it looks almost like that little calf is lying in the fetal position, and it does. That's exactly how it would look. I think it is just keeping itself warm. It's quite a chilly day, and if you're a little elephant, you don't have quite the same thermoregulation capabilities that Mom has. How special is this? That this is happening right here, with the wind howling and the elephants chomping. Really wonderful way. I don't think it gets better. I don't think there is a better way to start the morning than this. Looking at this wonderful family structure with two elephant mothers of completely different ages. There's probably at least 10 years between them, and two calves, one older, one younger. And Lucy from South Bend, Indiana, you were wondering how long this young baby will stay with its mother. And there's two different answers to that question. Because it is a male calf, first of all, it's going to remain inseparable from its mother. Both males and females will be inseparable for the first 2 or 3 years of their lives until the next calf is born. So at around 3.5, 4, the mother's going to have another calf, and then she will not separate herself from her first baby, but just maybe push it away slightly. And then after that, she will still remain bonded to it as it grows up in the herd. If it was a female calf, it would stay with mom for the rest of its life. So it would live out its days in the same herd that it was born into and grow up to learn from its mom. Mom would be around when it has its first calf. Really, really special family arrangement. And it's important to remember that this little baby not only has mom here, but is related to every single member of this herd. So it's got a giant family looking after it. But because it is a little male, its time here is slightly more limited. It's going to spend the first 10 years of its life being very much attached to the herd, playing with other herd members and other young males that are a similar age. And then once he reaches this sort of age between 12 to 15, which is when young males reach their sexual maturity, then it is quite a sad moment where the herd starts to push him right to the fringes. The females become less tolerant of his presence, and eventually he will turn around and head off on his own, probably find other young bulls of the same age who've been separated from their herds, and they'll form little bachelor groups until they reach the age where they can start competing for mating opportunities. But this little boy has still got another 12 to 15 years to go. Oh, she's waking him up. It's time to go. That was so sweet. Come on, little one. Up you get. Just a gentle nudge. Oh, and his legs are all unstable because he's been sleeping. Oh, sneaking under mom's tummy there. Oh, saying hello to a cousin there. That is so cute. And Lois, you are absolutely right. We've had the most amazing opportunities for screenshots this morning. Our Ellies are slowly moving off away from us, but what a special time we have spent with them. And I'm going to try and stay with them as long as they stay in the open. I mentioned yesterday that I won't be with a herd with a baby as young as this. I definitely won't be making too much noise by crashing through the bush and trying to follow them. It will only upset them. But we have had an amazing moment with this little fuzzball he looks like he's currently chasing the older calf. So cute. But what a special way to start off our morning with a wonderful Ellie herd. And I wonder what it is that was communicated between those two adults, that it was time to move off. The older one shifted off, and then the younger mother woke her calf up, and they all moved off together as a group. And we do have some wonderful news from a new viewer. Now, Jennifer, you are watching for the first time, and what a special way to start off your very first live safari than with a beautiful breeding herd of elephants. And the wonderful thing about these live safaris is, first of all, they are live, so it's happening right now in real time. But also the fact that we get to follow stories of individual animals, from the lion prides to the male coalitions and the individual leopards that we get in the area. It's so special because you're not limited to 2 or 3 days journey through here. It's a journey that can go on for months and for years. And that is one of my favorite things about these incredible live safaris, even on days when it's a little bit windy and a little bit grey and slightly drizzly. Now, I'm sure that you are wondering what Scott has been up to this morning, and I think we're going to head across to wherever he is. I'm not quite sure, I haven't heard from him on the radio, but let's see what he's been up to on this cold and drizzly morning, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Good morning everyone, and welcome on board with myself, Scott, and Jean-Dre on camera. We have just finished a little off-roading mission in the hope that we would find a lioness that Andrew, one of the other guides, had tracked and found on foot. When he found her, she was on the move and kind of ran away from him a little bit, and that's usually what most of the animals do when they see us on foot, even the predators. And we are now desperately trying to relocate her. Not sure which one it is. Andrew's the only one that got a glimpse of her. But exciting prospects, and we could bump into her at any stage. Very happy to hear you got off to a wonderful start to the safari with Jamie and the elephants. It's actually been quite some time since I've enjoyed an elephant sighting, so it's interesting how each day and over a couple of days you start to miss certain animals, and after spending 9.5 hours in total with that breeding pair of leopards that we were so fortunate to see, I'm looking forward to some changes of scenery now. There goes Andrew. He's the individual who skillfully found the tracks, followed them, and found the lion on foot. And as we got back to his, well, as we saw his vehicle parked on the side of the road, we realized that his guests had been abandoned by him to go off tracking, and as soon as he arrived back at the vehicle, he provided us with that good news. And now we have the task of trying to work out exactly where this lioness has gone. Also reports of a male cheetah heading towards Djuma from Sibambili, from our west, and that was late last night. And we've checked the boundary, checked all the likely areas where it would have crossed in, and no clear sign of it coming across. So didn't have any luck there, but still certainly good prospects. It's been quite some time since we've seen cheetah. And I've just heard another report on the radio. A pack of 15 wild dogs have just successfully killed an impala, but sadly it's in an area where we cannot go. It's to the north of us on Buffalo's Hook. And interestingly enough, it's a pack of 15 wild dog, 12 of which are 3-month-old pups, probably maybe even just slightly older than 3 months now. And before the denning season, which was in March, we used to see that same pack of 5 wild dogs. Chandra just has to give the screen a bit of TLC due to the drizzle that we're driving through. Thanks, Chandra. So, as I was saying, that before that pack moved off to den in the Manyeleti, they were called the Investec pack, and they still are, and it was 5 adults, and we saw them a handful of times, and now they are only 3 adults, sadly. 1 adult they presume to have been killed by a snake, and they think it was either a vine snake or a boomslang. And the reason why I'm guessing they think it was that snake is the dog must have been bleeding profusely. Those 2 snakes have got hemotoxic venom, so it attacks your blood cells. The other dog just went off hunting one day and never returned, so they're not sure how 2 of the adults were killed, but now it's just 3 adults raising those remaining 12 pups. And let's hope that they continue slowly making their way further south, and it shouldn't be long until we get to see them. I think if we do have any wind of them being on the property, we'll be sure to get our new drone up into the air to follow the chase from a bird's eye view. It'll be a great way to follow wild dogs hunting. Weather's not looking too promising, and if it does get much stronger, we are going to have to call the safari off. So that's just a prior warning. We obviously hopefully won't do that and we'll stay out as long as possible, but we are sitting very exposed on these vehicles with lots of technical equipment. There goes Andrew again. Perfect, Andrew. We'll go around this way.
Alright, good.
Shame the poor guy. I mean, imagine you find tracks, you follow them, which is incredibly difficult. You find the animal, huge joy, and then you can't find it to show your guests. So that's the predicament poor old Andrew's in. And I guess we will also start feeling the heat soon, but not to the degree that he is. They've got quite a lot more pressure than us, and in certain regards, because their guests are only here for a very short period of time and have come from many, many thousands of miles away most often, and the guides have got a limited period of time in which to show the guests as much as possible. I'm guessing it's probably the Inkuhuma lioness that Andrew did find. It would make the most sense. We only saw one, and there haven't been too many other single lioness running around that we know of. And I start checking very carefully for tracks on the road here, in the hope that we can establish what happened to Tingana and Kwatile, the two leopards that we were privileged to see mating for 3 consecutive drives. The general direction was bringing them towards where we are now. And even if we just get some idea from the tracks of whether they are still mating or were still mating by the time they crossed out of our property, or whether or not they had actually split up, which is what I'm guessing. I think that Tingana, as well as Kwatile, had enough of one another by the end of yesterday evening. But it would be great if we could get some clarity on that, and the tracks could certainly provide us with that information. Tricky conditions though for tracking because of this overcast weather. The flat light doesn't make it easy to see the tracks. But thankfully Gendre takes spotting animals very seriously, and he's very often actually standing up in the back seat, kind of surfing the vehicle to get a higher vantage point searching for game. So that's something that you guys don't get to see, but it is happening. And it's been remarkable to see how quickly the cameramen have developed and honed their tracking and spotting skills since they've all arrived. Often outshow or outperform us, which is good. It keeps us on our toes. If we don't have any further luck, by the time we get to Philemon's cut line, which is the next junction up ahead of us, what we will do is we'll probably turn around and drive back the exact same way we came. I was listening to the Game Drive channel, and it sounds like the guys are having a seriously chaotic but fun sighting with the wild dogs. They lose them, they find them, they lose them, they find them, and they move incredibly quickly, wild dog, when just getting from A to B. They very seldom walk down the road, they are always trotting, and it sounds like they're on the hunt, so they'll be bombshelling and scattering in all directions, chasing prey. So happy that Tex and Aubrey are there, enjoying the sighting, but as I said earlier, sadly we cannot get there. But it's important to let you all know that if and when we do get a wild dog sighting, you're going to need to buckle up your seatbelts and hold on for dear life, because it can be probably the most exciting animal to follow out here. The speed at which you need to travel in order to keep an eye on them coupled with the fact that they are probably the most successful large carnivore in the area, makes for some wonderful, wonderful sightings. Drizzle seems to be picking up again. Just a fine mist, but it clouds up the camera lens very quickly. Just going to have a quick chat with Jamie and let her know exactly what's going on. Jamie for Scott. Just to update you fully, Andrew did locate a lioness on foot, kind of heading towards Eugene's house, and we couldn't relocate in the block. Just got to film what's got under Becker's, and I'm going to now head back north on Becker's. Go ahead. I think we should be fine just keeping you updated, Jamie. And go ahead, Andrew. And so just checking, I'm going to come back north towards Balamati's where the one's back line. Okay. I think I may have just smelled some buttered popcorn. And even though a bowl of buttered popcorn would be delicious now, that's not what I'm hoping for. I'm guessing what we're going to find is some leopard tracks. And the reason why we would find leopard tracks close to the smell of buttered popcorn is because leopards very often, well, when they scent mark, it leaves the smell of fresh, hot buttered popcorn. Hard to believe, but it is the case, and it's one of the most wonderful smells I think we get out here in nature in Africa. So I'm just going to jump out quickly and check carefully to make sure there are no tracks, and I'd also like to see if I can find where this buttered popcorn aroma is coming from so I can take a deep pull of it. So what I'm doing is I'm using my flashlights to simulate the sun and the effect the sun would have on tracks. By holding it at a low angle like this, it casts a shadow on any of the pug marks or toe marks that you don't get to see in flat overcast lights, or even if it's very sunny but the sun's directly above us. So a low angle is key. Tracking is therefore most easy when the sun is low, either in the east at sunrise or in the west at sunset. Oh. I can't seem to work out where the smell came from, and maybe I was just dreaming. I also can't see any tracks at the outset. So, false alarm. Just want to check quickly though on this side of the road. The road's a little bit smoother and easier to see tracks. Okay, no luck. But the great thing about stopping and just checking any area for any slight clues that you may have is that by having the vehicle off, you get to listen a lot more clearly to any important signs that the bush could be trying to tell you. A lot of the animals will alarm call furiously at any predators, and when you switched off, you can hear a little bit better. Your chances of hearing these alarm calls or even the vocalizations of predators or elephants is a lot more easy. However, this time didn't provide us with any info. Not a problem at all. And there's still a lot more time left on the safari, so I'm not too phased at this stage, and I think the time we've spent here would have allowed the lioness to make her way out of this bush on our left and come out into a more open area towards our right hand side, which is where she was heading. Well, we've just got a great comment through from Dan, and he sent it through on Twitter with using the hashtag SafariLive. Dan said the smell of the leopard scent mark, although it may appear to be buttered popcorn, he said it probably doesn't taste like that. And you're 100% correct, Dan. I'm guessing James would be the only person that would have possibly been willing to taste leopard scent mark. I certainly won't, so I can't confirm whether it does taste like buttered popcorn, but like you say, I think it's highly unlikely. It's just one to tease the taste buds. Well, good morning to Chris in Colorado, and what a wonderful place that is. Whereabouts in Colorado? I've spent a little bit of time there in a fairy tale town called Aspen, which I'm sure you're well aware of. Chris, on the topic of lions and us searching for a lioness, is interested to know how many lionesses have died since August. And as far as I'm aware, it's 3, Chris. 2 from the Nkuhuma Pride, one which was killed on Torchwood, another one which was killed on Sibambili, and 1 lioness from the Styx Pride. A youngster from the Styx Pride was, I think, injured by the Matimba males, and then I think died a few days later. I'm not too sure of the finer details. It didn't happen on our property, it happened to the south of us. But the lioness have been taking a little bit of a pounding due to all of this unrest between the males. And it's not uncommon for that to happen when there is a coalition takeover. So we can't be too harsh on the Birmingham boys or the Matimba males. It's kind of commonplace. And it doesn't really make sense that male lions that are coming into an area hoping to acquire mating opportunities along with the territory would kill lioness. But I look at it in the way that they are strangers to the lioness. They're marauding, their blood's up, they're in a bit of a rage as they come through trying to establish the area. And if any lioness stand up to them or boycott their arrival, which is understandable for some to do, they're not used to these random males throwing their weight around, the males will then turn on the females. So there's no conclusive and definitive answer as to why they do it. It's certainly interesting that it does happen. Just gonna make sure I didn't see some of the tracks crossing the road. I don't think I did. No. Thanks very much to John in California, because he's provided us with some information that there was a lone lioness seen in Coral yesterday, which is a lodge to our south and east. I just reversed there to see a fallen down stump, which I thought may have been a lion, but alas, it was not. So thanks, John. And he also mentioned that he thinks it was one of the Styx lioness. That would make sense. They do spend more time on in Coral to the south of us than up here, at least for the time being that's the case. Well, we know there's a lion somewhere off to our left, but finding her now is going to be the next challenge. From where Andrew did see her, we both drove off-road in the direction that she was moving in, but it's an incredibly thick block, and we could have driven past her just by a few meters, and if she had been lying down, there would have been very little chance of us seeing her. Any updates, Andrew? Nothing my side. I'm approaching Bellinati's again. Copy, sorry Andrew, that's not good luck. Poor old Andrew, he's gone back to the last tracks where he saw her, in the last place where he saw her, and he was planning on jumping out of his vehicle again and then taking a walk to see if she hadn't just laid down nearby, which is very often the case. The lions will get a little bit of a fright when they see us walking towards them, run off a few meters as we go back to collect the vehicle, and then you usually find them quite nearby. But Andrew cannot go and have a little walk around that area because there's a herd of elephants in the way, and it just emphasizes how unfortunate he's been. He hoped to go back and have another look on foot, but those elephants are in the way. There's a little scorpion burrow down to our left, but it doesn't look like anybody's home this morning. Although, did I see something moving in there? Can you guys see anything? I was almost certain I saw a slight bit of movement, but maybe I'm dreaming. I'm just gonna get the spotlights up quickly and shine in there and see if that doesn't assist. No, maybe I was dreaming. This was a scorpion burrow that VM miraculously spotted a few mornings ago, and it's a burrowing scorpion that clearly lives underground in a burrow, but there's a multitude of different scorpions that live in different habitats. We actually came back the same night that VM found this scorpion and had a look in surrounding dead trees, and actually managed to find a scorpion in this dead tree that's right behind me here. And with a UV torch or black light, they fluoresce and glow like a toy, but that has to be done at night, so we can't go scorpion hunting right now. If there was a rocky outcrop, then we would be in luck, because we You get scorpions that like to live in these rocky outcrops on rock, on top of rock. And obviously you can pick up their home, have a look at them, and then place their home back down without causing any damage to them. So those are the best environments within which to look for scorpions. A lot of the scorpions that dwell in trees live in the cracks and the old cavities in trees, and therefore to get at them you'd have to pry open their home. Which is the last thing we'd want to do, leave a scorpion homeless on the streets. Seems like there's been a lot of interest around the topic of leopard's urine smelling like buttered popcorn, and Kevin has now asked whether it's easier to pick up scents or smell when the weather's hot and sunny, or whether when the weather is cool and damp. And I haven't noticed any major differences in the weather having an effect on your smell, mainly the wind and the wind direction. If the wind is still, it allows the scent to waft, whereas if it's very windy, oh, you wouldn't believe it. We've got a flat tire, but that's not a problem because we're going to send you across to Jamie. That'll give us time to change it. It's not completely flat yet, so I want to use this opportunity just to get up onto a little flat section ahead of us. And then Jeandre and myself will be able to warm our cold bodies up and doing a little bit of physical activity. So yeah, Kevin, I mean, I think the major influence on us as humans smelling tracks is the freshness of the scent or smell that was left behind, because our smell is not nearly as good as the animals, and therefore if it's fresh, our chances will be much better of smelling it. But regarding weather, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. Okay, well, we're going to say goodbye as we jump off the vehicle to fix our flat tire, and we're going to send you back to Jamie. Enjoy, and we'll see you shortly.
Welcome back, and poor Scott with his slow puncture flat tire. Does happen out here. I'm actually surprised it doesn't happen more often to us, considering where we drive and some of the thorns that we drive over. And just speaking of thorns, I've spotted a nest tucked away in a perfect position, right in a buffalo thorn tree. Now, I'm not too sure what kind of bird nest this is or who it belongs to. My original thought was some kind of shrike, and I think I might stick with that, just because it is tucked away in the tree. It's not one of the helmet shrikes, because they tend to wrap things with spider webs as well. It's not quite complete just yet, but whichever bird this is has picked a perfect position to tuck away a nest. Now, this particular tree has some seriously vicious and uncomfortable thorns, and I think any threat to the nest, any kind of raptor like a harrier hawk, would definitely be thinking twice about getting in there and having a go at the chicks or the eggs. Now, I'm not too sure which nest this is, and I have to confess that, but if you have any suggestions or any thoughts as to what it might be, you can send those through to #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@WildEarth.tv. I'm going to, a little bit later, I'll page through my bird book and try and think of the various options. I'm going through the various families in my head. Can't quite work it out. It's got to be a fairly small bird, because it's got to be able to coordinate its way in and out of those thorns to build up that nest. I'm just busy crossing off the different options, and hopefully by process of elimination we can work this one out. But I have another question for you, and another unknown thing was a bug or an insect that I found on my lap this morning. I popped him on my hat and promptly forgot about it. But let's just have a look at how beautiful this little bug is. It really is quite fascinating. It's got almost a camo type coloration to it. Just shift my arm around a little bit. I'm just going to angle it slightly so you can see the patterns on the side. It's got wings, although it hasn't flown off in any direction since I plucked it off my leg. And that's probably because it is a bit cold and a bit damp, and this seems to be the safest place to hide. I don't have my insect book with me, so I'm going to pose this as another question to you. What type of bug is this? Just trying to have a look to see if these are wings. It does look like wings. But it really is a beautiful little creature, whatever it is. Perfectly camouflaged. Amazing to see. Lots of unknown things. Noise, scraping bushes. It just would have upset them and unsettled them, especially with the weather being as it is. It's windy, it's cloudy. That tends to unsettle most of the animals out here. So that's why we didn't head across. And that's why we're now playing guessing games, both with a nest and with the strange and mysterious camo insect that I found on my leg and is now sitting on my hat, trying to shelter from the wind, and probably hoping that I don't release it into the wild on this cold and wet day. If you have any guesses that you'd like to send through as to what they might be, you do have access to the internet, so have a look on there and let's see if we can puzzle this out together. And you can send those answers through to #SafariLive on Twitter, or we can email through to questions@WildEarth.tv. So we've got a nest and a bug and an open road. Let's head out and see what's hiding around the corner. We can keep an eye on this nest. Hopefully the birds responsible for it will be coming around at some point to complete it. It is cup-shaped, which also gives us a hint. Myself have been driving along looking for things to show you, and we've just been commenting on how amazingly rapid this change of season has been. It is so bright green and beautiful at the moment, and of course with that and with all the love that's happening on Djuma, there's also another exciting prospect, and that is that some of the birds are going to be returning very, very soon. We've already got the Wahlberg's eagles back. I've been keeping an eye out for yellow-billed kites. We get all kinds of things like European rollers, European bee-eaters. And Dodie, you were wondering, when they do return, do we see them returning in large flocks as you do in your area? Well, you do absolutely, but it depends on the species. So for things like European bee-eaters, you get huge flocks of them coming through, and all of a sudden they're just there, and you can hear their cheeping sounds as you enter in. But then for things like cuckoos, they arrive one at a time, and you just all of a sudden wake up one morning and there's a Deirdre's cuckoo calling. Oh. I pulled off the road just to have a look at a bachelor herd of impala, and they promptly took off and disappeared into the block. And it is just because it is so windy today, they're feeling skittish and unsettled. There's just a flash of bottoms disappearing into the block. Okay, there you go, you can see them tucked away there. They're feeling camera shy this morning. But yes, the return of the birds is always incredibly exciting, and probably the most notable sound is that of the woodlands kingfisher, which is a beautiful trill-like call, and we're all going to be listening out for that. It's always something that the guides remark upon. Have you heard the woodlands kingfisher yet? Yes, I have. No, I haven't. Obviously they return to different areas at different times, depending on the amount of rainfall and the amount of cover that we get, or the amount of vegetation cover that we get. So some places will see them earlier than others. It is drizzling a little bit, so every now and again Andrew is going to have to act as our windscreen wiper for our lens. Hiding animals. It's amazing in this weather how they all seem to go to ground. We've already got our wonderful viewers sending through suggestions as to what our mystery camo bug might be, and Jeffrey suggested that it looks like a moth, and that could well be. It does have those very soft looking wings. I need to get hold of an insect book and confirm exactly what it is. But thank you for that, Jeffrey. I agree with you, it does look a little bit like that. Then what did you say, Andrew? You mentioned something.
I said it looked similar to a lousefly.
A lousefly. Let's have a look at louseflies as well as an option. It's just got the most amazing colouring I think I've ever seen.